Hey there, wake up. It's Means Morning News, 11 a.m. on the East Coast in Washington, D.C., and this is that source for anti-capitalist news and analysis. Thanks for watching. I'm the host, Sam Sachs. Good morning to everyone. I'm thankful for all of you this Thanksgiving week. From the casual viewers, to the sunny senders, to the rich dick nominators, we simply could not do the show without you. And I don't say that enough, so thank you. Now go on. Tell me how thankful you are for me. I'll wait. For all the talk of gay rights in Qatar, maybe there should be talk of boycotting the World Cup in the US in 4 years, because queer people are being murdered here with open encouragement from one of the two ruling parties, and under the cover of major news media outlets that are just asking questions. On Saturday night, 5 people were killed and 19 others wounded during a mass shooting at a gay nightclub in Colorado Springs. The alleged shooter, Anderson Aldrich, is facing 5 counts of first-degree murder. Worth noting, he wasn't stopped by police, but instead by bar patrons who were able to disarm and restrain him. Also, there are reports that when police did finally arrive, they detained someone administering first aid to victims, believing that he may have been the shooter. About what you'd expect from law enforcement these days. The suspect used a long rifle and a handgun in the attacks. Police say he purchased both firearms legally. He was able to do so despite a 2021 arrest for making a bomb threat against his own mother. Since charges were never filed and the arrest was cleared from his record, Aldrich wasn't flagged when he tried to make the gun purchase. It's not clear why the incident wasn't investigated, but Aldrich does come from a well-connected family. His grandfather is a Republican state lawmaker in California, Randy Voepel. Voepel previously celebrated the January 6th riot at the U.S. Capitol and has a history of saying pretty wild shit. Voepel once claimed that climate change is good because, quote, our enemies are on the equator. Most of the Muslim nations are in the hot areas of the world. He also compared homeless people to the Viet Cong. Any surprise that his grandson appears to have committed a horrific, bigoted mass killing? Club Q was considered a well-known haven for the LGBTQ+ community. It advertised plans to host a drag show brunch on Sunday to commemorate Transgender Day of Remembrance. Displays of LGBTQ+ pride, whether they be drag shows or reading groups, have increasingly become targets of far-right intimidation and harassment. More and more reports of people showing up to these events with guns, shouting about groomers, all of it whipped up by reactionary social media influencers and TV personalities, from Tucker Carlson to Matt Walsh to Chaya Raichik, aka Libs of TikTok. In fact, right after the shooting, Raichik pointed her followers toward a separate Colorado venue that was hosting events for Transgender Day of Remembrance. She wanted it to happen again. And back in October, Tucker Carlson wanted his viewers to know that they should arm themselves against drag queens. A few weeks ago, the targets of these freaks were children's hospitals that provide gender-affirming healthcare. Facilities received a wave of bomb threats. The campaign is then perpetuated by columnists like Glenn Greenwald and Jesse Singal, who instead of denouncing these obvious hate campaigns, flirt with them and claim that the incitements to violence are actually just truths that the mainstream media doesn't want you to hear. It's all then further legitimized by Republican lawmakers who translate the vitriolic rhetoric into actual legislation to eliminate LGBTQ+ identities and seize on the messaging for their re-election campaigns. The Human Rights Campaign reported that over 300 anti-LGBTQ+ bills have been introduced at the state level just this year alone. After the midterm elections, pundits debated whether the GOP had gone too far in centering this hate campaign in its appeal to voters. They weren't able to take the Senate running on it. But that analysis misses the point of all this for the right. It's not just to win elections, it's to actually eliminate people they don't like. So the true believers will keep on hammering it as long as they keep getting the desired results: more mass shootings. Shockwaves from the FTX collapse are rippling around the crypto market. It's estimated that trading volume has dropped 30 to 40% from its annual average as an industry-wide contagion sets in. Shares in rival cryptocurrency exchange Coinbase fell to an all-time low. It's now down to less than 1/8 of its initial market cap since it went public last year, and it's teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Coinbase was downgraded by Bank of America, which said that the exchange was not immune from the consequences of the FTX implosion. Another crypto brokerage firm called Genesis is on the verge of collapse. It has over $175 million locked in and now likely lost in FTX. The company is now trying to raise $1 billion in capital to avoid bankruptcy. It's already halted customer withdrawals after FTX went under. Yet another crypto firm, this one called Gemini, which is owned by the Winklevoss twins, or the Winklevi, is also facing a crisis due to its close ties with FTX. Meanwhile, Bitcoin is trading at its lowest price in 2 years, and a composite of the top 100 digital assets shows a 70% decline for this year. So all of this raises an interesting question. Will crypto even exist when Means Morning News comes back from the Thanksgiving break? Hopefully not. Another union said not good enough to a tentative labor agreement negotiated by the White House to avoid a national rail strike. Members of the Smart Transportation Division rejected the deal in a narrow vote on Monday. It's the largest of the 12 rail unions and the fourth now to oppose the framework. A separate union, the second largest, the Brotherhood of Locomotive Engineers and Trainmen, also voted Monday and approved the tentative agreement. So here's where things stand now. Workers are still working on the railroad, but 4 unions are back negotiating with the rail carriers. That deadline for those talks to come up with something is between December 5th and December 9th, after which the unions can go on strike. They can turn off the railroad company's profit-making machine until capital bends to their demands, which in this case are extremely reasonable: paid sick leave and scheduling that isn't exploitative. Or the railroads can lock out workers and put pressure on Congress to intervene. The companies don't seem that interested in negotiating. They're instead banking on lawmakers to end the rail labor dispute and impose a new contract on the unions. The Association of American Railroads is an interest group representing the companies, and it said in a statement after the votes, quote, "Congress has historically intervened to prevent rail system disruptions. In the event that the 4 unions remain unwilling to enter agreements within the bounds of the Presidential Emergency Board's framework, Congress must be prepared to act and institute the terms supported by the majority of the unions, guaranteeing certainty for rail customers and the broader economy." The top Republican in the House subcommittee that oversees railroads told Politico that Republicans have legislation that will enforce the tentative agreement negotiated by the Biden White House back in September. Representative Rick Crawford from Arkansas said, quote, "What a terrible Christmas gift that would be to give to the American people at this point, right before Christmas, shutting down our supply chain. So we've got something prepared if necessary, but I'm hoping it's not necessary." Yes, it won't be necessary if you told your donors that you won't break a strike on their behalf. Would you be surprised to learn that Union Pacific is a top 5 contributor to Congressman Crawford this last election cycle? I don't think so. So far, the top Democrat on the Transportation Committee doesn't seem committed to breaking a strike. When Politico informed Rep. Peter DeFazio that Republicans have legislation to impose a contract, he said, quote, "Oh, good for them. They're not in charge, so we'll see." He added that it was unconscionable that companies in the 21st century don't offer paid sick leave. But it is true, Congress does have a history of breaking railroad strikes. Most recently did so in 1992. And over the last 100 years or so, nationwide rail strikes haven't persisted very long. According to Railway Age, the longest rail shutdown since World War II was just 4 days. Democrats only have a few more weeks left in the majority in Congress. Will they spend it working with Republicans to break up a strike of more than 100,000 rail workers? Or will they stick it to railroad capitalists and let workers use their strike power? I guess we'll find out after Thanksgiving. But to be safe, I wouldn't brag to the family about what a pro-union president Joe Biden is. He might make you eat those words next month. Workers at BP's largest refinery in Europe are on strike this week. The union announced on Monday that its members would help resolve a technical problem at the plant in Rotterdam related to a loss of steam that has shut down production. But workers would not then resume refining operations until bosses have met their demands for higher wages. The union is seeking a 9.5% pay increase, which is lower than the 14% inflation in the economy. BP has countered with a much smaller 5% increase. The Rotterdam refinery processes about 400,000 barrels of oil every year, and if BP hopes to continue that rate of production, well, then it better pay its workers. Republicans are testing out their messaging for the 2024 presidential primary, and since Trump is already in the race, the candidates will somehow have to outflank him on the right. Former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo looks like he might challenge his former boss, and he's going back to the basics, attacking teachers' unions. Pompeo was interviewed by the outlet Semaphore, and during it, he revealed who he believes is the most dangerous person in the world, who he thinks is worse than Kim Jong-un or Xi Jinping. To Pompeo, the most dangerous person in the world is this lady. That's Randi Weingarten, the president of the 1.7 million member strong American Federation of Teachers. Pompeo said, quote, "I tell the story often. I get asked, who's the most dangerous person in the world? Is it Chairman Kim? Is it Xi Jinping? The most dangerous person in the world is Randi Weingarten." And he said, it's not even a close call that teachers are most likely to bring down the republic. Quote, "It would be the teachers' unions and the filth that they're teaching our kids and the fact that they don't know math and reading or writing." I'm sure if given enough time, Pompeo would go on ranting about critical race theory. More than 2/3 of teachers in the U.S. are unionized, which helps explain the right's obsession with attacking them. Hey, before we go, don't forget the Means TV Black Friday sale is underway with discounts on annual subscriptions and merchandise. So head over to the website means.tv and get a gift for your anti-capitalist friends that are notoriously difficult to shop for. Okay, the show ends this morning with a sunrise from North Dakota. It was sent in by Yen on a frosty morning in Fargo. Enjoy. Thanks, Yen. That's it for the show. Thanks to the team behind the scenes. Please subscribe to our YouTube and podcast channels if you haven't already. One day capitalism will fall. Until then, we'll be right here. Except for the rest of the week, the team is taking it off for Thanksgiving, so we'll be back next week. See you then. Have a happy Thanksgiving.